Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be with you this morning and looking forward to another exciting day to serve the Lord. And it's a good time to take a moment and reflect on what His Word teaches us today. In our scripture reading for our church family, we were in 2 Chronicles chapter 6 and 7. And obviously, chapter 7 is most notable because of the verse 14 that talks about if my people which are called by my name humble themselves, that God will bring back those blessings to those who will humble themselves and seek His grace and His mercy for their sin. And timely reminder. And then we turn to Psalm 125 or 126 this morning. And in Psalm 126, we saw just that the reversal of what happened in Israel. It says that they were in trouble, but boy, God has done great things to the people of Israel. And we can definitely appreciate the truth of those statements when we consider what God has done for those who are called by His name. And we as Christians, we as believers and followers of Jesus Christ can recognize the great things that He has accomplished in our life. One of the songs I considered this morning was "To God Be the Glory," written by Fanny Crosby, and a wonderful hymn. It was a tough choice this morning because there's so many things that I could reflect upon, and I enjoyed that time of reflection. But I settled on a different hymn this morning, one that focuses in on the last part of Psalm 126. And with all the good that God has done, He has blessed us immeasurably. And because of that, what are we doing with those blessings? What are we doing with the opportunity that God has given us? Are we doing our utmost for His glory? And that's really what the hymn this morning focuses on. It's written by a man named Knowles Shaw. And Knowles Shaw, in the hymnal that I use for my devotional time, it has a note down at the bottom of this hymn. And I thought this would be interesting to just kind of take a moment, reflect on a moment in this poet's life and what brought them back to such an important point where they wrote this hymn. This biographical entry says, shortly before he passed, Alban Shaw called his son Knowles, the author of this song, to his bedside and gave the 12-year-old a violin and 2 points of advice. Be good to your mother and prepare to meet your God. In keeping the former, Knowles used his musical skills to earn wages at community parties and dances. In the middle of one such party, Knowles came under deep conviction, realizing he had failed to heed the second admonition from his father. Putting down the violin, he announced the conflict of his heart and departed. After days of struggle, he attended a local congregation, not with the disinterest of his youth, but with desire for understanding. There he confessed Christ, was baptized, surrendered to preach a few years later. The singing evangelist led 11,000 to Christ. I think of that last statement, and I just am overwhelmed by the persistence of someone who recognized, wow, what good things God has done for me and how I ought to serve Him with my passion and heart. And so as I read through the hymn, Bringing in the Sheaves, I hope that you will reflect on the fact that there came a point in this young man's life where he realized, was he preparing to meet his God? His father's deathbed admonition to him suddenly rang true in his heart. Sowing in the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontide and the dewy eves. Waiting for the harvest and the time of reaping, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Go and tell the nations, now in heathen blindness, tell them Jesus died. Now no excuse he leaves. Bid them come to Jesus, thus prepare the harvest. You shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Sowing in the sunshine, sowing in the shadows, fearing neither clouds nor winter's chilling breeze. By and by the harvest and our labors ended, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Go, then, even weeping, sowing for the master. Though the loss sustained, our spirit often grieves. When our weeping's over, he will bid us welcome. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Boy, I hope that maybe throughout the day today, you will count your blessings as what God has done for you. And then you'll make sure to take those blessings and use them to advance the message of Christ. It is kind of disappointing when you consider all the blessing that Solomon enjoyed and the city of Jerusalem enjoyed, and that they were able to have this exquisite temple, and God had blessed Solomon extraordinarily. And yet how quickly we'll see in the next few chapters he turns his heart from God. Those blessings were fruitless. Those blessings did not bear any eternal value in the next episode of his life, just because those were taken for granted and those blessings became something he consumed instead of something that he used to further the mission that God had for his life. I hope this morning that you will be diligent, bringing in the sheaves, and that like the poet that wrote the words for bringing in the sheaves, you will realize, am I preparing to meet my God? Will he be pleased? Will he say, welcome, my child, well done, thou good and faithful servant? That is our prayer, our desire. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow morning, and I hope you have a great